flown right by. It's stupid, crazy, but it's like, oh, we're Thursday afternoon already. I realized, what's that?
Going?
Oh, no, I'm okay. I actually just had decent mood. Thank you.
I'm gonna cry now. I know, it's been a quick week.
Yeah, like it's kind of crazy. And then
Did you get
all of a
that?
sudden we're in December next week.
Yeah.
And I'm taking the day off next week, not for fun or anything. I got a tooth extraction on Tuesdays.
Oh, I can take it up for you.
What a follow-up. I thought you were
No, I didn't say that. Nope. Okay, yeah. Sounds like a plan. Okay, talk to you later. Thank you.
I got it.
Is that so?
Mm-hmm.
We're live.
Are we live?
Yeah.
Oh, my mic's on. Good afternoon, welcome back to Finance Committee, Thursday, November 26th. We have A119 on the board. Acting Mayor Higgin is the mover, and I still need a second. Do we have a second for A119? We have no second for A119.
I'll second. It's Joe.
Deputy Mayor, can you hear us?
Yes?
Oh, Councilor Morrow is
He
offering to
just,
second.
I just heard that, just this second. Councilor Morrow is second for A119. Questions?
Can we check if Councilor Higgin, there it is.
I was just gonna say, I wanted to make a amendment to A119
Go ahead.
with the decrease to be at half of what it shows, so to be 77,500.
Do we have a second for the amendment?
I will. Joe.
Councilor Morrow, second the amendment?
It's his motion,
Oh,
it's his motion revised.
Okay, sorry. No need for that. Thank you, Madam Clerk. No need for the second. It's acting mayor's motion, so he's just revising it himself. So the motion should read, adopting the following reduction initiative A119 at a reduced, or sorry, at an amount of
77,500 for 2020.
75,000.
77,500.
Okay, 77,500 for 2021 and 2022.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the amendment? Actually, we don't have to question that. Is there any questions on the motion? No questions on the motion? Debate? Acting Mayor Higgin, do you want to open debate?
I will wait for closing.
Finance Committee debate is open. Councillor Kaufman? Carlson, sorry, Councillor Carlson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. For all the reasons previously stated on this motion, I won't be in support.
Further debate? I see none. Acting Mayor Higgin to close.
Thank you. I've went through again, going back to a reduction that we asked other groups and organizations to take. I did a reduction so that we could still have some seasonal displays out there. 77,500 for 2021 and 2022. It would still allow for that and just would show that we're in light of what is going on, we need to reduce it somewhat, but we will still have some available.
Question's been called. Question will be called by roll call, please, for A119.
Councillor Kaufman.
Opposed?
Councillor Crowson.
Opposed.
Councillor Morrow.
Favor.
Councillor Parker.
Favor.
Acting Mayor Higgin.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Miyashiro.
Opposed.
Mayor Spearman.
Opposed.
Councillor Campbell.
Opposed.
Councillor Carlson.
Opposed?
Lost 6-3.
Moving along. We're up to initiative A125.
Do you want to revisit the 124, option 2?
Oh,
There was talk about coming back to it.
thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk, reminding me that A124 was supposed to come back today with more information. I think, Councillor Kaufman, you asked for more information on this one, is that correct?
124?
Snow and ice, option 2. Or is that not?
I think, no, option 1 was defeated, and somebody asked if they could bring forward option 2, and you said we'd get to that in due time.
That's right, thank you.
So I think you're just introducing it and see if we have a sponsor.
That's correct. Thank you very much for reminding me. Does anyone want to move A124? I see none. Then A124 will not be considered. A125 life cycle reduction, option 1 is connected to A126. Option 2, this service is part of all core services and impacts on all 4 division of facility services, engineering and planning. It's energy consumption management, life cycle planning, condition assessments, design analysis, troubleshooting, and improvement of facility systems and their operation to ensure long-term sustainability. Do I have a mover for 125 or 126? Councilor Carlson?
I'll move 125 if I can have some questions on it.
I'll get a second. Mayor Spearman. Councilor Carlson, ask your question.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, through you to City Manager or Designate. What are we putting off? Can you give me some specifics that may be put off rather than generalities?
Sure. I guess some background information that might help you, council, make a decision. Currently, the city has a net worth of approximately $637 million in buildings. Of that, we currently are sitting at a backlog of approximately $60 million in life cycling backlog, roughly 10% of our facilities. In addition to that, some of the background history was in 2018, a CIP project of $150,000 was brought forward to increase the backlog for life cycling. At that time, it was postponed. So when you talk about some of the things that would be, I could get you a list of things that would put off, but it would put off approximately, it would just add an additional pressure to that $60 million of current backlog projects.
Thank you. What do we currently budget for life cycle per annum?
Councillor Carlson, just on the PBB sheet on page 181, the maintenance program is roughly $6.3 million, but I'm just wondering, I'm just checking what else is described in that maintenance. So it's got inspections, preventative maintenance, and corrective repairs of facility equipment and systems.
So that's page 181, Madam Treasurer.
That's right.
Thank you. I'm flipping.
More questions? Councilor Carlson, do you want to open debate?
I'll close, I think.
Thank you. There's no debate. No one's up for debate. Councilor Carlson, close, please.
Sure, I will close. After being able to ask some questions, and thank you for pointing me to the page, and Mr. Adair's reminder about our CIP amendment that I think I sponsored that failed, I'm going to urge that council doesn't support this reduction. This is putting off to the future things that are necessary to keeping our facilities in top shape, not even top shape, a functioning shape, I guess we'll say. Further to that, I think there are energy retrofits that this could impact. I stand to be corrected, but that those are investments in the future that will actually see cost savings. So I'm urging my colleagues not to support this, but I was hoping to hear some other debate.
Question's been called. We'll do it by roll call, please.
Counselor Croson.
Opposed.
Counselor Morrow.
Favor?
Counselor Parker. Counselor Parker.
Opposed.
Acting Mayor Higgin.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Miyashiro.
Opposed?
Mayor Spearman.
Opposed.
Counselor Campbell.
Opposed.
Counselor Carlson.
Opposed?
Counselor Kaufman.
In favor.
Lost 6-3.
Okay, do I have a mover for A126? I see none.
Deputy Mayor,
Yes?
question, and this might just be a crazy question, but if A125 was not supported, do you, never mind, I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
It's the same thing, right? Just a more amount?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get more money, 10% instead of 5, I think. Is there a mover for A126? I see none. A126 will not be considered. Moving on to A127, increase user fees. This is an increase in user fees to contribute to 10% budget initiative or other reductions. I will move that Finance Committee recommend the adoption of A127 to City Council. Do I have a second?
Carlson?
Councilor Carlson, thank you. Open for questions.
Carlson here.
Councilor Carlson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to City Manager or Designate. This is showing an increase to the budget, a revenue generation initiative, so to speak. We know that our community has greater population of people living in poverty, put it that way. So council has also introduced a, oh, criminy, the terminology has fallen out of my head. The
Fee assistance program.
Thank you, Belinda. I knew someone would come to my rescue. The fee assistance program. I'm wondering if we're going to do this, if it's possible to, within this resolution, direct that some of those revenues are directed to increasing that fee assistance program.
Are you proposing that as an amendment?
Well, it would be an amendment. That's why I'm asking probably the city treasurer, Haley, if you can maybe jump in on how that would be accomplished and if it makes sense.
I'll just add something. Currently, the 2019 fee assistance program is not being, there still is money available as it sits today, so it's not currently all being used up.
Thank you, Mr. Adair. That was 2019?
That's correct.
What about 2020?
I don't believe applications have gone in for 2020 at this time. Or pardon me, 2020. Yeah, I'm confused. For this year, 2020, there is still money left in the fund in the neighborhood. I believe about $10,000 to date.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Croson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. To the City Manager or Designate, probably Mr. Adair, can you just give us some examples of which fees we're looking at here? I think I know, but I'd like to have some examples, please.
The breakdown would be aquatics, arenas, Fritzick, Yates are some of the fees that are used for that. And then also there would be city field rentals, school gyms, and picnic shelters that they could be used for, is my understanding.
Thank you.
Councillor Kaufman.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Is this a proposed across the board increase, or is this specifically targeting?
This is across the board, all fee-for-service groups.
All fee for service
within
groups?
rec and culture, yes.
Sorry, Mr. Adair, your statement was all fee for service groups, or all? Maybe I'm misunderstanding. What the increased user fees were on 127, correct?
Yes, when I say groups, I mean user fees.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Okay, so this would be an across the board increase at all facilities that have a user fee associated with it, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. This would be not just the use of a facility. So if you're renting it for hockey, is this admissions as well?
My understanding, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Crowson.
Apologies, I just didn't take my hand down.
Councillor Carlson.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, I would like to propose an amendment that 10% of the revenues are directed towards the, Belinda, what's the name? Fee assistance program. And maybe, Madam Treasurer, you can tell me if that wording makes sense and how would we accomplish that?
Deputy Mayor Mary Sherrill through to Councillor Carlson. I would just suggest that we show the resolution include the total revenue increase of the 200, and then show with an allocation to the fee assistance program of 20,000. And then sorry, I'm just waiting for Mr. Westerson. Trying not to go faster. Then with a net impact on taxation, a net reduction, sorry, on taxation of 180,000. Is that what you're proposing, Councillor Carlson?
Agreed. So there would, if this passes, the sheet would be amended to show another line item of a negative amount going to the fee assistance program.
Can you see the motion on Councillor Carlson?
Make me put on my glasses. Hang on a second. Yep, I think that makes sense. I think at least if the city treasurer and my colleagues understand what I'm trying to get to, I will assume that makes sense.
Yes, we need a second for that amendment.
Councillor Kaufman.
Councillor Kaufman will, thank you very much. Councillor Campbell, you have a question?
Yeah, I just, if I can get into kind of a bit of a specific, like, for example, when we're talking user fees and using the Yates, is there a standard fee that all organizations have? Or or do some, like I'm thinking New West, do they have a standard contract that continues into next year or whatever, compared to, say, a dance group that has, that wants to use the Yates and have used the Yates historically? Is there, how does this change, or how does that work? Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
Councillor Campbell, in the operating budget book, on page 322, we include a summary of the recreation and culture current fees for the 4-year budget cycle. So I'm thinking that we would have to go away and do some work in terms of where those increases would occur. But it does provide some idea of so it would be, potentially related to public skating, winter arena rentals, dry floor, summer ice. Yates is also on there, picnic shelters.
And all those fees are standard, doesn't matter who's renting, right? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any debate on the amendment? I see none. Councilor Carlson, do you want to close on the amendment?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I know that every time we do increase our fees, it again leaves a certain percentage of our population unable to afford to use our facilities. It is part of our strategic plan that our community is open and accessible and well used by all. And so I think this amendment will help achieve Council's goal.
Thank you. Question has been called. We'll call the question by roll call, please.
On the amendment, Councillor Morrow,
Opposed?
Councillor Parker, Councillor Parker,
We may have lost Ryan. I can text him direct to make sure he's still around.
I'm here. I
Oh.
put it on mute.
okay, Councillor Parker, your vote for the amendment?
Favor.
In favor? Is that what I
Yes.
heard?
Yes.
Acting Mayor Hagan,
Opposed.
Deputy Mayor Miyashiro,
In favor?
Mayor Spearman,
In favor.
Councillor Campbell,
In favor?
Councillor Carlson,
In favor?
Councillor Kaufman,
In favor?
Councillor Croson.
In favor.
Carries 7-2.
Back to the main motion. Are there any further questions on the main motion? Councillor Carlson?
In for debate.
Thank you. I'll read the main motion one more time. The Finance Committee recommend the council amend the 2019-2020 operating budget by, it's not the 2019-20. Is it 2021, 2022?
It is part of the 2019 to 2022 operating budget.
Yep, sorry about that. By adopting the following reduction initiative A 127, increase user fees with the revenue increase of $200,000 with an allocation to the fee assistance program of $20,000 with a net reduction on taxation of $180,000. Any questions on this motion? Debate, Council Carlson.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor, I was now struggling with my mute button. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. It's always challenging to increase the costs of accessing city facilities and city programs to our residents. However, I think when we looked at the feedback from the Ipsos Reid survey, this was one of the areas that our community said we should focus on rather than taxes to support these. It's basically it's a user fee, it's a user pay. The more you want to use something and the more you're willing to pony up your own dollars to support that, the more sense that makes. So I hope my colleagues will support this.
Councillor Croson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I actually will be opposing this. I appreciate the amendment. It does make it a little more equitable, but I believe that asking families at this point to pay more is just difficult to do. And these are services that they require. So for this time, I cannot support increasing user fees. I appreciate that it is a way of raising money, But I think to be more equitable, let's do it across the board and make sure that no one has to pay more at this time.
Thank you. Acting Mayor Higgin?
Further to my colleague that just spoke, I look at this and I see our reduction was to increase user fees. Again, the reduction was to increase user fees. There wasn't a reduction in this department. And I guess I'll be a broken record. We just increased user fees to offset this. So at a time when obviously community members are unable to afford the different facilities at this time. So for that reason, I will not support a reduction to increase user fees.
Further debate? I see none. We'll call the question by roll call, please.
Counselor Parker?
In favor?
Acting Mayor Higgin?
Opposed.
Deputy Mayor Miyashiro?
Favor.
Mayor Spearman?
Opposed.
Counselor Campbell?
In favor?
Counselor Carlson?
In favor.
Counselor Kaufman?
Opposed?
Counselor Croson?
Opposed.
Counselor Morrow?
Opposed.
Lost 5-4.
Moving on to A128, grants and fee for service. Reduction overall expenses in recreation and culture and the corporation. I move that Finance Committee recommend A128 for inclusion for City Council. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Campbell?
Yeah.
Questions? Councillor Croson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Similar to the last one we did, I just have questions on, can we get examples of what fees and grants we're looking for here? So if we could just get some examples so we know what exactly we are discussing.
Sure, some of the examples are Allied Arts Council, Lethbridge International Air Show, Grow Up Community Garden, Lethbridge Exhibition, Lethbridge Symphony, Lethbridge Lawn Bowling, Nico Yuko Sports Council, U of L Stadium, Lethbridge Softball, Lethbridge Little League, Southwest Little League are some examples.
I think we need some clarification. This is not double dipping for Sports Council, Allied Arts, etc.
Councillor Croson, this is based on the KPMG recommendation to review our grant and fee for service, which is a summary on page 318 in the operating budget book. And so this would require some review in terms of which ones might be reduced or eliminated. This is just based on the KPMG recommendation that there's the potential for a reduction.
Okay, so this is a potential based on review. So if we pass this, it may or may not be the amount we think.
If this was passed, we would have to come back with a strategy of where those reductions would occur, but we would need to achieve those amounts based on if this was approved or not.
Okay,
sorry, if this was approved, I should say, yeah.
Croson, are you done?
Yes, I'm finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson.
Thank you. Oh, yep. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Ms. Pinkston, I am quickly trying to access my budget book. Can you give me the total dollar amount? I think you said it's page 306, and it's just not opening on my iPad. Sorry.
So this does not include the increases that were given to the 5 community groups that came earlier in the week. If I look at 2021 fee for service summary and grants, it's a total of approximately $4.6 million.
So this would be contemplating a reduction of about, oh gosh, 3%? No. Is my quick math, I'm sorry, as I'm still scrolling, is it about a 3% reduction?
Yeah, nearly 4.
Nearly 4. I was very close, and I just found the page in my book right now. So when we came up with the dollar amount in this resolution, where did that come from? Was it did someone go through the list and say, well, we could probably pull back on X, Y, Z and leave LMN? I'm just not sure how this fairly specific dollar amount was.
The figure came from the KPMG operational review.
Okay, so they had, I'm sorry, I don't have that open in front of me either.
They'd indicated roughly 200,000
Okay.
as a rough estimate.
Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, City Treasurer. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Acting Mayor Higgin.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So with the ask of being around 200,000, we're at 171. The strategy will come back to council as indicated that there's multiple groups, but prior to in this particular decision here, A128, it does not state who will be reduced. That will still come back to council, correct?
That's correct.
And last question, yes, it is a recommendation from KPMG.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm just wondering, we are 5 weeks out from 2021. How do we implement this for 2021 in 5 weeks? We've got quite a process ahead of us here. Would it make more sense to leave 2021 as is and keep the reduction in 2022 as a target?
Yes, it would, because the before coming back to council with this specific piece of work, Recon-Culture needs to come with a Recon-Culture master plan, which will then inform this work. So that would be a reasonable recommendation.
Thank you. I would make that amendment if we get there.
I would like to withdraw my motion. I think administration can do this work regardless of whether council approves this initiative at all. At some point, you have to come back with names and numbers, and right now we just have the cumulative number. And I think it's important for council to see the rationale that went into, you know, if we're going to reduce X agency, if we're going to cut out so-and-so. I would like to withdraw my motion.
Deputy Mayor Cheryl, because it belongs to the committee now, it's been seconded, it will require the committee to withdraw it by a vote.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Councillor Kaufman.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just before the motion to withdraw is presented then, following on your words, if the staff are able to find this efficiency or find this within their own operation proceedings, when they come to council with the list, can they also identify how they've addressed this so that we can close the loop on it? It's great to leave it with staff, but if it could come back to council when the list comes back with how they address this 171, that would be appreciated as well.
Yes, we will.
Councillor Morrow.
Thank you. Just a question to maybe our city clerk or whoever. If we don't proceed with this and we just withdraw it, then technically, the way I get it, is that administration doesn't have to do anything. So we're talking about something that they don't have to do and they don't have to come back. I thought that if we approve this, they at least have the language of the day, a target to go after, and then come back to council. So am I missing something here?
We, on this one, Councilor Morrow, this was before council, and this work on the KPMG recommendations in Rec and Culture paralleled the 5%, 10% reduction exercise, and that explains why we are where we're at here. Rec and Culture came forward and presented an update on its response to the KPMG recommendations to council about a month or 6 weeks ago, and that included, and we'd have to double check the direction, but direction for administration to come back to council in January or February with the draft Rec and Culture master plan. And this work was to follow council decision-making on the Rec and Culture master plan, which would identify those broad areas of activities that the city would want to support through fee-for-service. So we already are on the hook to come back to council on this, but you might be right. What might be missing is the number in that work.
That's the point. Right. That was the point I was trying to make. I understand you're already in the process, but there's a number missing. So you could come back with $10,000 or $300,000. So I'm suggesting, and I'm thinking, or at least the way I'm hearing this play out, is that without a number, then you guys don't have a target. And isn't that what we've been talking about?
Yeah, I left out, actually, we do have a target, Councilor Morrow. I did mention it's $200,000 was the KPMG recommendation. So we'll have to come back to council with that target in mind. As things stand now.
So with all due respect, why is this here? What was the reason? It's just to show again that that this particular group has gone through the exercise of trying to find 5 and 10% when they've already got a number of 200,000.
Yes, like I said, this work proceeded in parallel with the response to the KPMG recommendation. So you're correct. It didn't have to. I suppose it didn't have to be here, other than to show and demonstrate that that this business unit went through the same exercise.
Or are you finished?
I sure am. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carlson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just to confirm with the city manager, as we are looking at the fee for service through a process that we've already basically established and are well along the way. What about the grants? And I know that's a much smaller number. I'm trying to do math in my head. It looks like less than $1 million out of the entire pot, but I just want to confirm that those will be looked at as well.
Yes, they will. The tool is actually is built as we speak, and will start to be implemented in the very near future.
Perfect. Thank you.
Acting Mayor Higgin.
Thank you. Question to the city manager. So you will be returning back with initiative for the $200,000 in savings. Now, where will that money go? Because by then this budget will be approved prior to you bringing that back. So does that just go into the MRSR? I'm just wondering how, or will that affect future taxation still, although you're coming back after we finish budget? Am I making sense there? I'm just wondering where this funding will go after if it's realized.
Councillor Higgin, that would be correct. So if the $200,000 was found and council approved the reductions to the fee-for-service in grants, it would flow into the MRSR until the next budget cycle, and we would bring that forward as a proposed reduction at that time.
So currently now it would come off of taxation, even if we got 200,000 more than what's showing here, would not come off taxation. Is that correct? In the next 2 years.
So If this was approved, then the Rec and Culture would need to go away and determine how they would reduce the fee-for-service and grant allocation today. If this is not approved, they would still go away and do that work. The savings would show up as a surplus until a future budget cycle when we would propose bringing that forward as a reduction at that time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? I see none. I ask for consent from Finance Committee to withdraw this motion. Is there anyone that opposes?
I oppose.
Okay. So we'll vote on the motion to withdraw.
A majority vote.
Need a majority vote.
Acting Mayor Hagan.
Opposed.
Deputy Mayor Miyashiro.
Favor.
Mayor Spearman.
In favor.
Councillor Campbell.
In favor?
Councillor Carlson.
Agreed.
Councillor Kaufman.
In favor?
Councillor Croson.
In favor.
Councillor Morrow.
Favor.
Councillor Parker.
In favor.
Carried 8-1.
Motion is withdrawn. A129, I have to recuse myself, conflict of interest. Mayor Spearman, will you take the chair for 129?
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Recreation and Culture, do we have a mover for this resolution?
Carlson.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Campbell. Okay, any questions on A129?
Carlson and Parker.
Okay, Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question. Has this been discussed with LSCO? It seems like quite a sudden impact to their operation and the services they provide to our senior community and the broad community at large. Has this been discussed with them, and have they responded with what the impacts will be?
Yes, we have had some preliminary discussions with them around this and the next initiative as well, and that's the closure of the pool. They are open to further discussions. They're not opposed to this. In fact, they have talked to us about looking at some different options within that. So yes, they are open and look forward to further discussions.
Thank you. And further to that, then further discussions may have some, even in just the short term, some financial impacts on them and perhaps us, depending how those discussions go. How are we going to manage that?
Can you clarify the question, Councillor Carlson, please?
I will do my darndest, Craig. Canceling this contract or this service that we provide starting in 5 weeks, which is, I'm assuming, what this is saying, is kind of abrupt. And there may be some transition dollars needed. There may be further requests because this would impact many of their grant requests to FCSS and the like. Their operating budget would be larger. Their grant requests thereby would have been larger. So I'm just wondering how we're going to mitigate canceling the contract in 5 weeks, and B, ensuring that we're not hugely impacting the services that organization provides.
I'll defer to the treasurer in a second, other than to say that we would, given the timeline associated with this, we'd clearly have to do this in a reasonable, responsible way. But in terms of financially what that would mean, I'll defer to Ms. Pinkson.
Councillor Carlson, I think we would just have to look at that. I mean, this might be another one that we'd, maybe recommend giving us the year to kind of transition through that, if this is something that council supports.
So here's my question. How long do you think it would take to transition? Because we know what the yearly amount is. If we say we could probably transition out of this in 6 months, that'd be a pretty easy fix. You just cut all the columns in 2021 by 50%. If we have an idea of how long it would take to transition out, I would be willing to make an amendment. Here's my question. Does anyone have an idea on how long it would take to transition?
I would ask Mr. Adair if the conversations have gone that far. I doubt they have.
No, we've just had really preliminary to see if that they would even be in support of this being brought forward. So we haven't had any discussions beyond that point.
So then I'll ask this question. If I made an amendment to cut the 2021 in half, to give 6 months of transition time, would that be A, doable, and B, hopefully accomplished as speedily as possible, so it might not take 6 months?
We could certainly take that forward. Again, with the conversations just being preliminary at this point, it's difficult to say whether that's achievable, but we do need a start state. So if council decided to provide that direction, we would certainly proceed accordingly.
Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Parker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. My question is, I don't know who can answer this, probably Mr. Adair. What's the consequences of doing this in regards to levels of service? What would the normal person who's a day-to-day user notice if we did support this?
I think the end user wouldn't see any service level reduction. When we're talking about revising this contract, it's about janitorial, light maintenance, setup, takedown, supplies, security, snow removal, and things like this. So I don't anticipate the end user would see any differences.
So my question is, and I appreciate that. So why do we need to make this decision? Why couldn't you folks just go do it if there's no real change into the level of service which the people who are actually the users would notice? Why wouldn't you just do it without us actually having to vote on this?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if anybody here has the history to that relationship or that agreement. At some point, we obviously came to the agreement that those were costs the city would bear. I'm not sure what was behind that.
I believe it's in the lease agreement, City Manager.
Yes, I guess I'm saying I'm not sure what's behind, what led us to include that in the agreement.
Okay. I was throwing it out there, and I don't know if I can get an exact answer. I was just kind of like, well, if you can do it without changing the level of service that the users have, just go do it without council's okay, because it really doesn't have an impact on the user. I'm all good with it. Thank you.
Point of clarity, I think it's in front of us because it's a budget impact.
Even though if it's a budget impact, they could go do it and have the savings. I didn't realize they need the blessing of council to do that. I thought they would just move forward and do it. So maybe I just assumed, and I made a mistake for that.
Yeah, I think they need us to amend the budget.
Hey, Councillor Crowson.
Thank you, Mayor Spearman. Just want to delve into a little bit of one line in the background. At the current time, the city has access to the gymnasium space for community use in the evenings. How often is that used by the city? Is this something that very much we're giving up, or would this again be something that no one would really notice?
What we would do is right now we take care of the rental of the facility in the evenings. We would just turn that over to the LSCO to manage that, and so the end user probably wouldn't see a change in that. They would just have to book it through the LSCO as opposed to the city.
And so that's where the revenue is coming in, is from the rental. and LSCO would then get the rental?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and does any
Carlson.
other member of council wish to speak? Councillor Carlson?
Just to be clear, the revenue is not an increase. It's a decrease in revenue. I believe what's being contemplated is they would rent it. We would now have to pay for our usage.
Or
Yes,
community
that
groups
was
would?
clear.
Yeah. So $63,900 is basically the revenue loss, if you like, to the city, and there would be an expenditure reduction of $330,000 annually. Any further comments from council? Any questions? Are we ready to move forward to debate?
I have one.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Higgin.
Yes, just to confirm, unless something's changed, we own that building. We being the city that's in their inventory, correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to debate. Who would like to open? Councillor Carlson?
Thank you, Mayor Sperman. I'm going to propose an amendment along the lines of what I originally discussed. I just don't think this is accomplishable speedily and may put undue pressure on the organization should this pass. And so I'd like to reduce the columns in 2021 by 50%, if that, to give a basically a 6-month buffer, if that makes sense.
We'll find out. Okay, so do you have a seconder for that amendment?
I'll second it.
Councillor Campbell has seconded that amendment. Questions on the amendment? I see none. Ready to move to debate?
Can we
Councillor
just
Carlson?
hang on until the amendment?
Pardon?
Sorry, Mayor Sperman. Sorry, can we just wait until the amendment is actually up on the screen, please?
Okay.
Your Worship,
Yes.
while that is being written, I'm just wondering, this is one of those ones that we can set as a target, but I don't think should go actually in the approved amounts. If maybe Ms. Pinkston, the city manager, can jump in here. I'm just concerned. This would mean renegotiating a lease, renegotiating an agreement. So they're sort of targets, but they're not guaranteed. Am I correct in that?
So I'll ask the city treasurer through the city manager if she would like to respond to that.
Sorry, Councillor Carlson, is your question like, will this target or budget reduction be achieved depending on negotiations of the agreement? Is that what your question was?
Well, I guess what I'm saying is this would trigger renegotiations. I hate, again, doing this in public. This would trigger negotiations because there may be ins and outs in the lease agreement with that. There may have been some things that were given up in order to gain janitorial service provided through the city. So I just want to ensure that we don't know what those negotiations are going to result in. So I'm just concerned about the difficulty of putting this in our budget without knowing.
Councillor Carlson, I would suggest there's lots of unknowns at this point. This is a very complex kind of agreement and relationship with the community group that I would agree with your concern that, potentially this is not achievable and there's lots of unknowns, and this was is back to the, exercise of 5%, 10%, and this is what the department, brought forward, but still knowing there's lots of things to work out and things to understand. This is a tricky one, and I would agree with your statement that it is risky reducing the budget with so many kind of unknowns out there. I think if council approved this, I would recommend that this just that we would go and explore this and see what further is an option and the impact, because I think there's potentially also pretty significant impact on the community group, and I just don't know what all those implications would be.
I agree, and that's why I'm debating with myself of making this a directional resolution to go and explore options rather than hard and fast. But maybe we'll get there. Thank you.
So we have the amendment on written now. Do councillors understand what they're voting on in terms of the amendment? Basically to reduce the impact in 2021 by 50%. Any debate on the amendment?
Mayor Spearman, sorry, I just do have a question for clarification. Is the revenue decrease straight across 50%?
That was my assumption.
Yeah, I would just assume the net is half of the net amount of 266, and we would work through what that looks like.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any further questions before we move to debate? I see none. Okay, debate on the amendment. Councillor Carlson, it's your amendment.
Thank you, Mayor Spearman. I do like the direction that this is causing us and our administration to think, and I appreciate that there is discussion with the community group that this affects and the broader community that it affects. So I think the 50% will help mitigate any of those issues, and I'd ask for support in case the entire amendment passes.
Okay, thank you. Any further debate on the amendment? I see none. I'll take that as your close.
Call for the vote.
Question's been called on the amendment. Are any opposed to the amendment?
Yes.
Okay, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Mayor Spearman.
In favor.
Councillor Campbell.
In favor?
Councillor Carlson.
In favor.
Councillor Kaufman.
Opposed?
Councillor Crowson.
In favor.
Councillor Morrow.
Opposed?
Councillor Parker.
Opposed?
Acting Mayor Hagan.
Opposed?
It's a tie vote, so it's a lost vote.
Okay, the vote on the amendment is tied, so the vote is lost. So we are back to the original motion without an amendment. Who moved the original motion? I think it was Councillor Carlson, right?
It was.
Okay. Mr. Councillor Carlson, you own the whole motion now.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Spearman. I'm in light of the conversation and in light of the short time to implement this, I think it would be irresponsible to put this into our budget with so many unknowns. So at this point, I'd urge my colleagues to not support this motion, but to continue giving direction to our administration to explore ways at reducing this cost to the city.
Okay. All right. So if this motion is defeated, a subsequent motion could come forward at a city council meeting to provide direction.
Agreed.
Okay. Anybody else? It sounds like are there any further questions on the main motion?
Me, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Councillor Parker?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just, I just want to get clarification. So if this resolution was to be defeated or not go through at all, Mr. Dalton, can you tell me what would occur?
Yes, based on the discussion today, we would continue to pursue this as a savings rather.
So no matter what, you guys are going to pursue this. So this resolution, if passed, would just accelerate things starting in the new year. Otherwise, if it's voted down, you would proceed, but probably just at a slower fashion. Am I correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, I do have a question as a follow-up then. Wouldn't it be better to have a direction from council to pursue this rather than just leave it open-ended?
We would welcome that at any time.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hagan.
Thank you. I'm just looking here at similar to a previous section that we looked at. This would not decrease the taxation that we're looking at, and yet it would go, from my understanding, would probably go to currently to MRSR if there is savings, rather than it's looking at about a 0.25 or 0.3% tax decrease with us approving this currently, which would not happen if we did not. So my question is, if there's, while we're working through this, if there's the savings, the potential savings after this goes through, it would go to the MRSR. Is that correct, City Treasurer?
Councillor Higgins, so there has in the past in budget deliberations been directional resolutions that have come at the end of the process. So that potentially is one option, that a council bring forward a directional resolution to explore this as an option. At this point, if this initiative was approved, then that would give direction for us to go away and explore this as an option. And if we were able to make this all work and proceed with it, then yes, the surplus, if there was savings, would go into the MRSR at the end of the budget cycle, and then we potentially bring this forward at the next budget cycle as a possible reduction to taxation at that point in time.
So an exploration which would happen after the approval of this budget, we would not see a tax decrease then until possibly in 2 years or when we decided to do another budget.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. So just for clarification, on the sheet it says 266,100 savings in each year to taxation. Is that correct?
Mayor Spearman, I would just recommend that we change the resolution to say explore this reduction initiative as a future potential reduction to taxation.
Okay. There's no further questions from council. We'll move on to debate. Councillor Carlson?
I think we were done debate. I'm confused.
You're done debate?
I thought we had already.
We were debating the amendment prior.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, I
this
thought
this is the main motion. So you
yeah, and I did open, and I did ask my colleagues not to support this.
Okay. We'll ask it. Any further debate? Councillor Kaufman?
Thank you, Mayor Spearman. Members of the Finance Committee will, if you can reflect back, and I can't believe it was yesterday, to the city manager's statement about looking at the service aspect of what's being presented. But the other statement that he made as well is that business units have gone through this exercise of the 5 and 10%, and anything that they put in front of us, to me, says that our staff, the people who understand how these things work, they actually are proposing this. They're saying if council wishes to put their hand up and agree with it, then we will make it so. I understand and I get the fact that there is a potential for a different outcome on this in terms of conversation, negotiation, however you want to put that. But again, we've got a city manager who would come back to us and say, you know, council, you approved the 266,100 reduction in taxation. And unfortunately, what has happened is we've only gotten to X or to Y, and we'll make an amendment. Staff have put this page in front of us. Staff are obviously prepared to deal with however council decides on this. I would say let's continue to challenge. Let's continue to be creative, be inventive, be innovative. And I would encourage my colleagues to actually support this motion and move forward. Thank you.
Any further debate? I see none. Okay, we'll go by roll call. Yeah.
I'd like to close, Mayor
Okay,
Spearman.
go ahead.
Thank you. And I appreciate the discussion and the debate and the thoughts of my colleagues. However, this resolution would cause huge pressures in a very, very short time. And we do know that there are many steps. It's fairly bluntly laid out in the sheet in front of us. If we do decide to move towards this, and it says move towards this, not implement it, we require an amendment to the agreement with the community group because the impacts there would be huge. The agreement may have contemplated a lot of these things. We also need a discussion with our HR and QP, etc. So there's a lot of unknowns with this one. And I like to deal in fairly known or knowable situations. If this fails, and I'm asking my colleagues to vote against this, I will be bringing forward a directional resolution that this is something council really wants to, hopefully, and you'll support that council really would like to proceed with and explore. But at this time, I think there's too many unknowns, and I think our city manager and our city treasurer have both expressed their concerns alongside me there. So I do ask for my colleagues to not support this at this time, knowing full well that a directional resolution is currently being scribbled on my notepad.
Thank you. We'll now move forward with the vote, and I'll ask our city clerk to do a roll call, please.
Mayor Spearman, before we do that, I think we just want to clarify the vote. And I did hear explore. I just want to hand it over to the city treasurer to make sure everybody understands the vote.
Based on this resolution, this would be to implement this initiative and a reduction to taxation based on what's worded on the screen. So I just wasn't clear if that was the intention of the mover.
The vote, this resolution says to implement. Yeah, not explore. Yeah.
I don't believe I said that, but if I did, I apologize.
We're good. Keep going.
I think we just need clarification then. If the mover did say explore and the seconder understood it as explore?
The mover did not.
I don't know where you heard that or how you heard that.
Okay.
I think the city treasurer said she'd appreciate that.
Okay.
The resolution says it would implement this recommendation.
Right. So we're ready to vote?
Okay, now we'll do the roll call, please.
Councillor Campbell.
Opposed.
Councillor Carlson.
Opposed.
Councillor Kaufman.
In favor.
Councillor Croson.
Opposed.
Councillor Morrow.
Favor.
Councillor Parker,
In favor?
Acting Mayor Hagan,
In favor?
Mayor Spearman.
Opposed?
Lost vote. Tied vote is a lost vote, 4-4.
Okay, the vote is lost. I don't know, Councillor Carlson, if you want to bring forward a directional resolution?
Thank you. I would, and this is, if Councillor Kaufman just said that I did use the word explore, and I believe that was what I meant I would bring forward after. And so I would like to put a directional resolution in that administration continue to explore this initiative with a report back to council no later than, let's say, June 1st, 2021. Is that enough time, City Manager?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Campbell. Questions on the motion? Let's have the motion on the screen. Okay, the motion's now on the screen. Any questions on the motion? Councillor Morrow?
So just to make sure, A129 did not pass, so that means neither year 2021 or 2022 is going to be changed. They're right as we speak. Nothing's happening in those 2 years. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. What are we exploring?
The opportunity to achieve savings in the future, which council may then accept or not accept.
City manager, what are we exploring?
The same proposal that was put forward in A129.
So further to Councillor Kaufman's point in the previous debate, has your staff not already done the exploring in order to come forth with a recommendation A129? Did they not do the exploring already?
No, we do not have a complete implementation plan, and we've just started speaking to LSCO.
Okay, so can you maybe just can you give me some details as to, I'm trying to understand, because I guess I see this as pretty simple. Janitorial services and set up and take down services. So what are we exploring? Can you give me an example or two of what it is we need to explore?
Yeah, I think the first thing is just to be respectful of the organization that we have an agreement with and understand what the impact may be on their users, as well as was mentioned in Alpha 129, some union issues. So it's not, the services themselves are quite simple, but it's an agreement we have in place now. So to change that agreement, we would have to go through the steps that are required to do that in a respectful way.
Okay, so without hopefully crossing the line, I see that in A129 there was a potential impact on staffing, 3 permanent and 2 non-permanent. Am I to assume those are City of Lethbridge employees?
Yes.
They will remain City of Lethbridge employees no matter what happens, even after we explore this proposal.
I'm sorry, is that?
Whenever this happens, whether it
Yes.
happens today, which obviously it didn't, and whether it happens on June 1st, the City of Lethbridge, these 5 employees that seem to be affected, will remain the City of Lethbridge and will be absorbed into the corporation somewhere else. would they not?
I'd prefer to talk about any HR impact in camera, if that was possible.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? I see none. We'll move on to debate. Councillor Carlson?
Sorry, Mayor Spearman, I could not find my mute button. I was on the wrong screen. Thank you. I think this is an appropriate move. I appreciate the work that our staff has done as a budget exercise to explore this and bring to council's attention a way that we could trim the budget. However, this is not in my mind, and the way it's been explained to me, this is not a flick of a switch ability. We do have a legally binding agreement in place. We have lots of HR matters to deal with in the interim, but this gives our administration, city manager, direction that council is interested in this, and this could be a great savings to the corporation. But we also have to be mindful of the impact to our community and our community group that this impacts. So this just gives a little bit of time, and I have great faith that our city manager and his team can work their way through this with the community group that we have a long-standing and strong partnership with. So I'd ask for support.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Parker?
Am I allowed to ask a question, Mr. Chairman, just on a comment I heard?
We'd moved on to debate, but I will allow a question.
Thank you. It was kind of implied in that there was no conversation or nothing going on with this other organization. Is that true, Mr. City Manager, or conversations have taken place? Just so I'm clear.
I'll defer to Mr. Adair to explain to what level they've taken place, please.
So those conversations have taken place. We wanted to understand if they felt this was a reasonable option for them, and that's as far as the conversations have taken place at this time. We have not talked about how that would look going forward, but we wanted to make sure that they would at least be open to this idea and it would work for them as well as it would work for us.
So, thank you, Mr. Adair. So you're saying you just threw the idea out to them and they heard it and there was no real other conversation? It didn't go to another level?
That's correct. That was the initial discussions we've had with them.
Thank you.
Acting Mayor Higgin?
Are you going to allow one more question?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Spearman. If we vote no to this, is city administration still going to go forward with from what I heard previously, with looking into this anyways? Is that not true?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further questions? There are none. Councillor Morrow?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. These questions are popping up from questions and answers. Again, if the city is going to do whatever it is they're doing, why are we spending whatever amount of time we've spent on this resolution when the city's going to do everything they're going to do anyways? Like, can somebody explain that to me? Because now I'm starting to think the whole thing with this whole binder. So isn't this what we need to do to give direction for the next 2 years? But yet it seems that certain pages in this binder, I'm hearing, we don't even have to talk about them because the city's going to do them anyways. So what is it? Can you help me out? Help me understand this.
Well, I think what happened was we had the operational review done. City manager and staff investigated some of these things preliminarily in order to develop these proposals for council. Now, council has asked some questions, and this particular initiative has evolved a little bit because at least one councillor thought that these savings aren't achievable in full. Now, the city manager has said that he would appreciate a directional resolution that would always be welcome. So there we are, we're at a directional resolution.
Thanks for that, Mr. Mayor. I understand, but again, Councillor Parker just asked the question, and the answer was, we're doing it anyways. So maybe, city manager, can you help me understand this?
Councillor Morrow, if we had we had more time to examine this this reduction initiative, it probably would not have been in the high impact part of this discussion for council. We would have probably had it as a base adjustment for review by council, something that's within our ability to deal with. Because we haven't had a chance to do that, and for the reasons that were mentioned during the debate, one, that we're not certain when these financial savings might accrue, if they accrue, based on the things we have to work through to pursue this this expenditure reduction, and the other is just in terms of the timing, and not and again, based on the timing and the and our intent to want to treat the organization respectfully and work through this respectfully, and also make sure we understand the impact on users of the facility. So again, if this exercise was not going on and this opportunity had emerged, we would have pursued it. But it was included as part of this budget reduction exercise, and because of what we assessed as the high impact, just based on the timing and when council, the time between when council has a decision to consider this and the start of the new fiscal year, we thought the impact was high. I think the key message is, as I said, we would welcome a directional resolution at any time. And if one were not to come forward, knowing what we know now, we would pursue this. I think that's the simplest way I could put it.
Thank you.
So any councillor can bring forward a resolution, and Councillor Carlson has done that. So any further questions before we go back to debate? Acting Mayor Higgin?
I'd like to put through an amendment.
Okay, you'd like to amend the resolution? Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
Have it on the screen. If I can have it on the screen, please.
One second.
I'd like to just amend the report back, change that to March 31st, 2021.
Hey, Mr. City Manager, is that a reasonable timeline?
We could work towards that timeline if council so desires, and if it was not achievable, we'd come back and inform council.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Higgin, is there a seconder to your amendment?
I'll second that, Joe.
Okay. All right. Okay, any discussion on the amendment? Questions? Councillor Carlson?
Thank you. Through to the city manager. City manager, if the original date stays, but work gets completed on this before, there's nothing standing in your way of bringing back a report earlier, is there?
No, that's correct.
Thank you, city manager. Is this the top priority for the first quarter of 2021?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions on the amendment? Councillor Higgin?
So just a question to the city manager. So not top priority, so we will not be getting started on this till after March 31st?
No, we'll start on this as soon as we can.
So can you help me understand what the reply was to Councillor Carlson, that the first quarter it is not of importance? So does that just mean not importance, but you will be working on it?
No, the question was, is this our top priority? And it's not, but that doesn't mean we won't be working on it.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Morrow?
So to that question, Mr. City Manager, is this a priority at all?
Every task we receive from council is a priority, and we'll work to accomplish it as quickly as we can.
So just so I understand, can you help me understand what you would mean by top priority versus not top priority?
So we have a council work plan to work to right now, which sets out priorities for administration based on council direction. So those would be our top priorities, but that doesn't mean that's all we're working on. So if we get other direction from council and a due date, and I've said in response to both proposed due dates here, that we would work to achieve both of those dates. And if we were unable to do so, we'd report back.
Thank you, sir.
Any further questions on the amendment? Okay, on to debate on the amendment. Councillor Higgin?
I'll just open it for debate.
Okay, any other debate? Councillor Kaufman?
Thank you, Mayor Spearman. I'll support the amendment. The reality is we've changed tack a little bit on this particular issue. We've heard the city manager say that they'll shoot towards March 31st. If there's an issue, he will advise us that there's a problem and will give us a revised date. I think he understands the desire for council to deal with this sooner rather than later. He's only got, I think the last count was 243,000 fires to put out. But I'm certain that he will task whoever's in charge of this to get on this. We've got 4 months to March 31st. If they can't do it by March 31st, we'll be advised. I think this is the satisfying decision. I'll support the motion.
Any further debate? Okay, can we do a roll call on the amendment, please?
Councillor Kaufman.
In favor.
Councillor Crowson.
In favor.
Councillor Morrow.
Favor.
Councillor Parker.
In favor.
Acting Mayor Higgin.
In favor.
Mayor Spearman.
Opposed?
Councillor Campbell.
In favor.
Councillor Carlson.
In favor.
Carries 7-1.
Thank you. So now we go back to the amended motion, and the date changes to March 31. Okay, this was Councillor Carlson's motion. He did open. It's now at March 31 instead of June 1. Do any other members of council wish to debate the main motion? I'm looking for hands. I see none. Okay, can we go a roll call on this motion, please?
Councillor Carlson.
In favor.
Councillor Kaufman.
In favor.
Councillor Crowson.
In favor.
Councillor Morrow.
Opposed?
Councillor Parker.
In favor.
Acting Mayor Higgin.
In favor.
Mayor Spearman.
In favor.
Councillor Campbell.
In favor.
Carried 7-1.
Thank you. We'll just invite Deputy Mayor Mearshaw back to the meeting now.
Mayor Spearman, could we possibly take a 10-minute break, if that's possible, to reset?
Yep, we can. It's now 2:46. Do you want to meet back at 3 o'clock. 14 minutes.
If that meets with the approval of the rest of Finance Committee, I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right, we'll be back at 3 o'clock. Okay, it's 3 o'clock. The meeting. Just waiting for some people to return. Just as a heads up to councillors online, Councillor or Deputy Mayor Miyashiro has declared conflict on A132 and has requested, could we start with that one? Unless there's any objection, we'll go to A132 and then go back. Okay, Councillor Campbell's here. Do we need to do a roll call to see who's here, or are we okay?
Councillor Campbell.
Here.
Councillor Carlson.
Here.
Councillor Kaufman.
Present.
Councillor Croson.
Good afternoon.
Councillor Morrow.
Yep.
Councillor Parker.
Here.
Acting Mayor Hagan.
Aye.
And Deputy Mayor Miyashiro, I think, has still declared a conflict. Mayor Spearman.
Here. So Councillor or Deputy Mayor Miyashiro is in conflict for A132, has requested that we proceed with that one next. Are there any objections? I hear none. So we'll move forward with A132. I will move A132. Does any councillor wish to second?
Mayor Spearman, I actually submitted a motion on A132.
You submitted a motion.
Yes.
Okay.
106 a.m. again. My apologies.
Right, I remember seeing that about 6 o'clock this morning. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and do we have a resolution? Sure. Yeah, A132, I do have that.
Ryan, do you have that one? Yep, Ryan's got it on the screen. On your screen too.
Okay, so what I would do is withdraw because put and allow this. I'll second Councillor Kaufman's motion. So that, if councillors can see it or not, be it resolved that Finance Committee postpone initiative A132, closure of Fritz Sick Pool, and further be it resolved that Finance Committee requests the city manager to prepare a 2022 to 2031 capital improvement program initiative proposing a renovation to Fritz Sick Pool. Councillor Kaufman.
Do you need a seconder?
Hello?
Do you need a seconder, Mr. Mayor?
It's already been seconded.
Oh,
Ryan.
my apologies, my apologies.
Okay. Hey, Councillor Kaufman.
Thank you, Mayor Spearman. Thank you to my colleagues as well. And again, I apologize for the early morning email of this. I would like you all to be humming Elton John's Circle of Life, though, while I talk about this, because my very first budget deliberation back in 1996 had virtually the same proposal, that we close Fritz Sick Pool. Fritz Sick is a specialty pool, and I think we all recognize that. And that's not the fault of the pool. It's just actually the way that it's designed. It's used by lane swimmers. It's used by water aquatics organizations. And most importantly, it's used by our swim clubs because of the setup. That said, it needs a lot of loving. The change rooms, I can only speak for the men's room, but I'm assuming the women's is just the same, require an awful lot of retrofit to them. And the pool itself has had some issues over the years as well. But to propose a closure in the absence of a strategy, in the absence of a plan, and in the absence of having a facility akin to this, where you can have designated lane swimming and you can have a place for the aquatic clubs to be operating and competing, does actually create a bit of a challenge. So this is about at least deferring or postponing the decision on this until we hit CIP next May. So this is about asking the city manager to prepare a CIP initiative proposing a renovation for Fritz Sick Pool. The other aspect of this as well, though, is that this facility is as unique to swimmers and is used by, as I say, the lane swimmers, the water aerobics, and the swim clubs. And not everybody uses it, and I recognize that. However, that's the same with our arenas, with our ballparks, with our skate parks, with our pickleball courts, with our tennis courts. We do have a number of facilities in the community. This does have a higher operating cost. I absolutely acknowledge that, and I feel badly about that. Reality is we need to have a strategy in place for an alternative. Just closing it outright with the lack of an alternative does create some challenges, and I would ask my colleagues to support this motion.
Okay, Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Mayor Spearman. Thank you, Councillor Kaufman, for bringing this forward, because I had so many questions on this initiative. It's very similar to the previous one of the ability to do this in 5 weeks and the impacts it would cause. So I appreciate you taking the initiative at 1:06 a.m. Appreciate it. Question is that you mentioned in your opening or your preamble that this is much higher operating costs. Do we know what the operating costs are for this facility in comparison to, I guess it would just be the two others that would be comparable, Stan Seelick and Nicholas Sharon?
Who would like to answer this question? Comparable operating costs for Fritz Sick Pool versus other pools.
We'll have to do some digging to get that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I have a question for Councillor Kaufman, and hopefully it's fairly straightforward. The CIP is going to be considered, I think it's scheduled for May. And we previously passed a motion asking for a recommendation by March 31st on the existing pool. Do you see any conflict between those two resolutions?
I'm sure it's an absolutely simple question. The simple mind at this end isn't picking up what you're laying down there. Okay. We passed a motion on Fritz Sick Pool previously.
To have the city manager investigate and come back by March 31st on the operation and report back to council. But if we're going to change the scope of the pool, does that impact the previous resolution too? And this decision comes back after March 31.
My apologies. I do not recall any previous motion on Fritz Sick Pool. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. I just don't recall it. Does somebody have a ballpark as to when that happened? And I'll quickly go to notes.
Sorry, Councillor Kaufman, I think the mayor is talking that the previous resolution about janitorial work included Fritz Sick Pool.
Oh,
that one.
Well, that was even longer ago, wasn't it? Well, it's a joint conversation then.
Okay, so this one we would get a proposal in May for possibly renovating Fritz Sick Pool, and there's no conflict between investigating, maintaining the existing Fritz Sick Pool. Okay, thank you. Any further questions from council? Councillor Campbell?
Thank you, Worship. I just, can I guess to Mr. Adair, do you have a sense of the type of work that is going to be needed for renovation for Fritzick Pool as it is right now and the kind of challenges that are facing that pool? Plus, when we're looking for a CIP project, can you give a ballpark as to what kind of cost that's going to be?
The immediate needs from an upgrade standpoint at the pool would mean needs a boiler, which will be required ASAP to continue. The cost of that boiler's budgeted about $540,000. Should that pool be decommissioned, the cost for the pool or that boiler for the rest of the facility would be substantially less. From a standpoint of the other outstanding CIP projects, I would have to get that information and get back to you.
Would management be confident that the pool would survive the winter and into next year?
The pool is experiencing some tiredness, I think you could explain it as right now. And in fact, we've been trying to get it operational for some time without success. So I do anticipate that it will need some substantial work going forward if we continue to keep that pool operational.
And where would that money come from? Is that existing recreation and culture?
That would come out of life cycling, I believe.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions from council?
Carlson here.
Okay, Councillor Carlson?
Thank you. So, Councillor Campbell triggered a question. So are we thinking that even in the short term, like before CIP discussions, that we'd have to invest $500,000 into that facility?
Yes, that's what facilities had told me. They said it's actually on their books to be Q1 of 2021 to move forward with this. So yes, in the very near future.
Oh, good heavens. Okay, thank you. A question to Councillor Kaufman, the mover. The CIP initiative that you're requesting is fairly specific, that it's a renovation to Fritzick Pool. Would you be open to a renovation or replacement?
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Councillor Carlson. Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely be open to renovation or replacement. For me, it's about if you've got a shell, utilize what you've got. Replacement may have significantly increased costs because you're now building a new structure, but either or, whatever staff can bring forward that is accomplishing it, absolutely.
Thank you. I think the shell was added on top. In my memory, I think Fritzick was an outdoor pool, so maybe the shell can just be moved. But I'll make that amendment.
Are you proposing an amendment to the motion?
Yes, I was hoping it was going to be friendly.
I certainly see it as friendly.
Okay, I'll accept it as a friendly amendment if there's no objection from council. Okay, any further questions? Okay. I'm just looking at the business plan for this pool. So currently it's the oldest pool and the least used pool. In the background, it says the usage numbers for the facility are significantly less than other facilities in the community. Do you see a renovation as revitalizing the use of the pool? That's to the mover, to Councillor Kaufman.
Thank you, Mayor Spearman. Recognizing 1:06 a.m., I am not performing my best, although I've never found a time when I am. The word renovation is to imply we gut and rebuild, or we save what we can, we get rid of others. I can't call it a retrofit, because a retrofit is to change. Like it just, you know what? It's not about focusing on the exact language there in terms of renovation. It's about can we fix what's there? Can we replace what's there? What do you propose? If we have to take out a boiler, we have to take out a boiler. If we have to redo a pool, then that's what needs to be done. So when I use the word renovation, it's not just about putting paint on it. It's about doing what needs to be done to have a pool there, to have it up and running. And I have to leave that to the professionals on staff to present. So the word renovation is, can we renovate, as we understand the term, what's there, or as Councillor Carlson has suggested here, replace it. Does that clarify?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Adair, through the city manager, would also like to comment. Mr. Adair?
Yes, renovation, from my understanding, would require a major renovation, including change rooms, tank, and circulation systems, including the boiler, if that helps.
So renovation or replacement costs are starting to look about the same? Okay, thank you. Acting Mayor Higgin?
Are we in debate yet?
We're in questions at the moment.
I'm in for debate.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any further questions? Councillor Morrow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I'll ask the question to both Kaufman and Carlson, because I'm thinking that the significance and the beauty of this pool is because of where it is. Easily accessible by seniors and easily accessible by all the business people in the downtown area, or at least that's what I've been feeling all along. As Councillor Kaufman says, this has been on the chopping blocks forever. So my question to the two movers is, I understand the first part, but the second part about replacement. When you talk about replacement, that means that as long as we replace the pool and we can put it over on the north side or south side or west side or wherever, that kind of concerns me. When you talk about replacement, are you replacing this pool for a pool but keeping it within the downtown core?
Thanks, Councillor.
Or is it just open to be replaced, like put another one on the west side or on the north side or whatever?
Thanks.
Go ahead, Councillor Carlson.
Thank you. I was going to say thank you, Councillor Morrow. My heart and soul tell me it needs to be in the south, because this would moving it elsewhere would be leaving the south without easy access to a pool. However, you can renovate in place, you can replace in place, you can replace 40 feet away. I just didn't want to limit it, that we were only going to renovate a 70-year-old failing asset.
Okay, I don't think there was any limitation as to location. Councillor Kaufman?
Thank you, Mayor Spearman. Thank you for the question, Councillor Morrow. The reason I lose so many motions is because I have the ability to operationalize some things in my mind, and I start talking about what I see. I'm not going to do that here. What I'm going to say instead is, this is about just creating a CIP, see what staff bring back to us and the options that get put in front of us. So whether it's renovation or replacement at the moment, it's just about creating the opportunity for a strategy to deal with this as opposed to just closing the pool. So on the amendment being proposed, I'm open to replacement because, as Councillor Carlson identified, renovation is specific. And as we heard from Mr. Adair, we might be approaching inequity in terms of the costing. So for me, it's just come back with a CIP in May and let's have a more fulsome conversation with more information in our mind. Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah, it does. Both of your answers are satisfactory. I just, yeah, I'll just leave it. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
What answer can I give you that you would vote for it?
Well, let me ask you a question. historically, we have seen that anything that we have done to make things better on old existing buildings, even though in every one of our surveys, we are always told to maintain and upgrade and keep what we have rather than building new. And we want to focus on keeping people downtown and want to create a more vibrant downtown. But everything that we're doing, and people are telling me we are changing the footprint significantly for everything that's somewhat centralized, and we're moving things out further away, such as the curling club, the skating rinks, and all those things that we're moving out, and we're creating a more significant footprint. So when I hear the word replace, the administration's going to come back, but you know what? They could replace this and put this way over by Costco. Is that going to meet the need of what I'm hearing the community needs? I don't think it does. Do you? Unless you tell me you're hearing something different, let me know.
Thank you, Councillor Morrow. Yeah, I tend to hear exactly the same thing, but I don't know until I see a CIP sheet as to what's being presented. And that's where we have the conversation, in my mind, that's where we have the conversation about, no, if you're going to replace it, it's being replaced in the downtown. Or, no, put it out by Costco. We have to have that passionate, values-based conversation during the CIP. Right now, it's about getting a CIP sheet initiative created. And hopefully everybody in administration has heard what you've just said and what we're discussing here.
Thanks for that, because I know you and probably Councillor Parker and myself will really, really remember Cecily Kenwood and her discussions with us. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions on this motion from Councillor Kaufman?
I do have a question, Mayor Spearman.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Higgin.
And I'm not sure who can answer this, possibly city manager as designate. We're working on a civic master plan. In that civic master plan, is there a pool or the opportunity of a pool in there at this point? Or is this part of the master plan for the closure of the Fritzig pool? I'd like to just know more of what's happening with that civic master plan and if a pool is discussed within that.
Thank you. Does anybody have that information on the off the top of their heads?
It's the civic common plan that I think Councillor Hagan is referring to.
But under that plan, it has to be civic use, can be recreation, etc. So a swimming pool would fit under the civic common master plan.
The answer is yes.
I know that it could, but so there has been discussions on that then.
We left the plan vague so that it has to be a civic use, but it can be recreation, it can be governance, it can be all those things. But as long as it's civic use, it fits and recreation fits.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Campbell.
Thank you. Just going back to thinking about that boiler that needs to be replaced. If it goes down in January, what's the next move? Does that come before council again, or what do we do next?
No, today it is scheduled through life cycling, so we would move forward and replace that because we'd have to if it went down immediately.
Thank you.
So just to follow up on that, it's part of life cycle. So if council doesn't proceed with closing this pool, you're going to spend money renovating it. Is that correct?
The challenge we face is the facility needs a boiler. And I guess it's the size of boiler that we need. If the pool's operational, it would be a bigger boiler at the $540,000. If the facility would still require a boiler at a reduced rate if the pool was closed. That would be the difference.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's slightly apart from the motion that Councillor Kaufman has presented, which is to present a new item for the CIP. Any further questions on Councillor Kaufman's motion? If not, we'll move on to debate. Councillor Kaufman?
Thank you, Mayor Spearman. I believe I've opened.
Okay, do any other members of council wish to debate? Okay, Acting Mayor Higgin?
Thank you, Mayor Spearman, and thank you, Councillor Kaufman, for bringing this forward. I was definitely dead set against the closure of the Fritz-Sick pool, and I'm glad you brought this resolution forward. I think over the past few weeks, I know myself, and I can't speak for the rest of you, have received numerous emails on this, probably more than any other initiative in this binder. And so I think it's a fantastic facility to have, and as Councillor Morrow indicated previously, we've lost a lot of that in our downtown core with having the YMCA moving out, and now the discussion of the curling club and the discussion of civic arena, etc. So this to me is a fantastic idea and a great motion, and I will definitely support it.
Thank you. Councillor Croson?
Thank you, Mayor Spearman. I'll be echoing my colleague quite a bit because I am very appreciative that you brought this motion forward. I know there's been a lot of discussion over the years about closing the Fritz-Sick, but it is now the only remaining pool in the downtown area. It is imperative that we keep some recreation downtown. And this pool, while it is old, as I mentioned to my colleagues, it's turning 70 this year, it does serve a unique population, people who use it for the swim club, for lane swimming, and for other uses. And this is something that we have to look at. Perhaps it is a replacement. But one of the reasons that we do tend to go out to the outside areas is because we can't find land downtown. We do have the Civic Common Master Plan that would support decisions like that. And so I look forward to having this move forward to a CIP. In the end, we will see what decision is made then, but this would help the Fritz-Sick to stay alive for a little longer. So I will support the motion.
Any further comments from council? I will.
Councillor
Yeah,
Campbell.
go ahead.
Yeah, again, I'm echoing what all have said as well. Hearing how old Fritz-Sick Pool is, I'm just a little bit younger. And that's where I grew up. That was down the street from me, so there's fond recollections of the pool, and again, it's all going to be part of the downtown, which I think is really vital to continue with the revitalization of that area. So I will be supporting this proposal.
Okay. I will support the creation of a CIP proposal, but that doesn't specify whether or not I would support it during the CIP process. But at this point, I see no harm in developing a proposal for consideration by City Council in May. So I will support the motion. Any further members of council wish to speak? Councillor Kaufman, would you like to close?
Thank you, Mayor Spearman, and I'm glad to hear that Councillor Campbell's boiler is working much better than that at the Fritz-Sick.
Oh, it's been replaced.
No. Well, there's that. It does concern me a little bit to hear about this now in terms of the boiler cost and then the necessity. I do recall a presentation on our assets, and Fritz-Sick was just sort of mentioned in as being a concern, but hopefully we can manage to get this through. This is really about creating the strategy, creating the opportunity to have a strategy as we move forward, and I would ask my colleagues to support the motion.
Question's been called. All in favor of the motion to create a CIP proposal? Are there any opposed? I see none. So that carries unanimously. Now we have the original A132, and I have the sense, but I could be wrong, that our city manager and his team are looking for a decision on what to do with the existing Fritz-Sick, so they can decide what to do in terms of a boiler replacement plan and maybe some other details. Is that correct? Do you need clarity, or are you okay with what council's done so far?
I think we're fine so far. If we need to come back to council in terms of life cycle management for that facility, then we'll do so at that time.
Okay, so we will bypass the original A132.
The Kaufman's motion actually postponed it, I believe was the term. I'm not sure if that was the right term, but that's what his term was.
All right, thank you. All right, at this point, we'll invite Deputy Mayor Miyashiro to come back to the meeting.
Do we have to?
All right. Oh, by the way, Councillor Carlson, I heard what you said at the end. Just saying.
Sorry, I forgot I wasn't on mute.
A130 Helen Schuler Nature Center. Increase the user fees. I will sponsor this motion for Finance Committee to approve A130 or send A130 to Council for approval. Do I have a seconder? Mayor Spearman, thank you. Questions? I see no questions. Oh, Councillor Croson? Oh, sorry, Councillor
Thank
Croson, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm just looking for a little bit more detail on the background. Is this just fees for programs, or is this an admission rate? Just a little more detail would be appreciated.
Yeah, so this would go on things like the general fees for programs, looks like primarily programs here. And in
So
that fee would be an increase of 16% overall, remembering that in 2020 or 2019 to the 2022 budget, there was an 8 to 12% increase that is already being added into those fees. So this would be an additional 16% on top of that.
But they, right now, if I understand, I believe their admission is free, so they're keeping their admission free. But if you come to a program that has a cost, they're being increased cost to that program.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Thanks. Just a lot of schools take advantage of the Helen, the nature center. So do they pay for those? Do the schools pay for going down there, or like what do we know about that? Or are those free, or how's the cost recovery on that?
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
If I could just add a general comment on there's a number coming from Helen Schuler Nature Center, and given the small size of their budget and the fact that the vast majority of their expenses are on the personnel side, that the proposals they've put forward are all having to do with programming, either raising fees or reducing programming, which is their raison d'etre. So that's why they're all classified in the high impact as well. So even though it's a small amount, they were classified as high impact.
You, Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is very similar to, I think it was 827. which was an increase to user fees. Is that, can someone tell me how this is different?
Could be the same.
Or just say yes,
It's
very
just,
simple.
it's just the source, Councillor Carlson. They were developed differently. Helen Schuler, they worked through their own 5%, 10%, not as part of that broader service fee work.
Okay, but it is similar.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Parker.
Sorry, this is more of a rhetorical. The $5,000 is really minimal. Is this really something administration even supported? Because was there a lot of administrative time put into this $5,000? Just it seems so minimal for the time and effort we're going to put into it.
Yes, so I think we would not support this one. They're all in here to show council the work that was done, but no, we wouldn't.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager.
Further questions? I see none. Open it for debate. Councillor Croson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. There was a reason I could never just approve a blanket 5 to 10% cut across the board in all of our departments, and Helen Schuler is definitely one of those reasons. This is a very small department, a very small organization. They use their money, the best they can, and any cut would be detrimental to all the work. Not that it wouldn't be detrimental to every department, but cuts hit harder on groups like this, so I will not be supporting this initiative.
I see no more debate. Oh, sorry, Mayor Spearman.
I won't be supporting this either. I think Helen Schuler is like a special classroom. It's an outdoor classroom. It teaches our young people and our community about the ecology of the river valley, and having that kind of an understanding and that kind of an interpretation I think is something unique and something special. Helen Schuler is a jewel in our city, and we should do everything to allow access to the programs and services that they provide. So I can't support this on this occasion. I think the amount of money is minimal. Thank you.
I see no more debate. I will call the question by roll call.
Councillor Croson.
Opposed.
Councillor Morrow.
Opposed.
Councillor Parker.
Opposed.
Acting Mayor Higgin.
Opposed.
Deputy Mayor Miyashiro.
Opposed.
Mayor Spearman.
Opposed?
Councillor Campbell.
Opposed.
Councillor Carlson.
Opposed.
Councillor Kaufman.
Not that it matters, but opposed.
It matters. 9-0 lost.
What?
It always matters, Councillor Kaufman.
Why did the movers jump up so quick, I wonder?
Thank you.
A131, security patrols at Transit Park and Ride. I will move that Finance Committee recommends council to adopt A131. Do I have a seconder?
Yes, Joe?
Thank you, Councillor Morrow. Questions? Councillor Carlson?
The issues that caused this initiative originally, the security patrols at the transit park, have they decreased by 50%?
Negative.
So the same issues are still ongoing, but we're just going to say we're going to not have security there certain hours?
The same challenges still persist, yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Campbell?
Thank you. Do we have any information about, I know that it was a priority for the watch to be more vigilant in this area. Do we know anything more or have any data on that?
What we know is the security is still dealing with a lot of public washroom, drug and vandalism issues in that area. I don't know if there's been a reduction since the watch has been implemented.
Can you tell me what hours of operation the washrooms have in the park and ride? The reason I'm asking, because I think it's the main public washroom in that whole area of downtown.
Yes, it is that main washroom in that location. I'll have to get you the operational hours.
Thank you. Further questions? I see none. Debate? I see none. Are there anyone on Finance Committee in opposition to A131?
Carlson.
Call the vote by roll call, please.
Counselor Morrow,
Favor?
Counselor Parker,
Favor?
Acting Mayor Higgin,
Opposed.
Deputy Mayor Miyashiro,
Opposed?
Mayor Spearman,
Opposed?
Counselor Campbell,
Opposed.
Counselor Carlson,
Opposed.
Counselor Kaufman,
Opposed?
Counselor Croson,
Opposed.
lost 7-2.
Go on to A133. I move that Finance Committee recommend the adoption to City Council of A133. Do I have a second? Mayor Spearman, questions? Councillor Croson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Mr. Dare, I have questions about usage. We know that the NMAX is closed, so the people who are using that, some of them have bumped to other ones, but we know that the Pronghorns aren't playing hockey at Nicholas Sharon. So I'm just curious about our rink usage overall. Is it similar to other years? Is it up? Is it down? If you could just give me a little background on that, please.
Certainly, we've seen with the usage during COVID, all of our facilities usage is down in 2020, and that's right across the board for all facilities.
And I know you don't have a crystal ball, but are we thinking next fall? So by the end of 2021, it'll be right back up where it was?
Optimistically, I'd love to see us all back in our facilities by September, you know, playing hockey and doing what we do normally. And if that's the case, by accepting this initiative, what would happen is that would mean the I guess, groups that were using that facility and all the programming that went along with it would have to be, I guess, taken to the other facilities within the city, which would mean early morning ice times, late ice times and things like that, or individuals would go to our outlying communities. Another piece of information that would be helpful, I believe, for council here is in 2020, we had to replace the ice plant in a cost of $1.1 million. So that ice plant is brand new, and it has a life expectancy of 10 to 15 years. So as we transition to a new facility in the future, if we do, the plan was that this one would be able to keep us operational until that time.
So to summarize, while we have a decreased use right now, that's not in any way permanent. This is needed, and it has a lifespan of 10 to 15 years.
The ice plant does, yes. Of course, there'll be some more additional life cycling that will have to go into that, but that's the big one.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Kaufman.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Adair, for the information. First of all, is an ice plant transplantable? Is it the type of thing that you could take out of this facility and put into something new?
They are, if they're a new facility, you could actually move them, but because this is an older facility and the piping is already in place, you have to bring in a specific one to use for that facility. So unfortunately, that one could not be moved to a new location.
Okay, so we've made an investment for 10 to 15 years then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Second question, in terms of pressure, we're down we're down, and the phrase down is problematic because it assumes there's a quote unquote normal, but we're currently down an ice surface, correct? As is?
I'm seeing some heads shake no, but I'm not sure.
No, that's okay. No,
Can
no's a
I
fine
add to
no is
that?
a fine answer too. Oh, I know Councillor Hagan is in line, so he may have an answer to that. Final question for me, please. I see under proposed implementation strategy, there's currently a capital improvement program project on the books for new ice surface. This was intended for the 2018-2022 ice cycle. Yada, yada, yada. Perhaps it include an ice surface or two and a replacement pool for Fritzick at some point. Are you aware if there is a CIP page coming forward for this particular asset?
No.
We're just going to look that up.
Okay, thank you. I'll hop out. Thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Thank you. Just in terms of life cycle, is there some planned maintenance on that? And also, much like my question about the pool, are there issues that you're seeing that need your attention? And if so, how soon would they be?
The ice plant was the immediate need, and I will check on what are the upcoming needs with regards to life cycling. I just got a text in that says primetime usage at all arenas is at its max as it sits today, or pre-COVID time.
Okay. Acting Mayor Hagan.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out a question to Councillor Kaufman. When I sat on the committee for the Winter Games bid, there was many different reviews done on our community, and it was showing that we were down 4.5 sheets of ice. We've since included 2 additional for the west side, so showing we were still down, and this was talking about 4 or 5 years ago, we were down 2 sheets of ice. So I think the text that Mr. Adair just received back is true, that there's just not enough for what is needed in our community, and this is at least from these reviews and these different consultants brought back.
Thank you. Councillor or City Treasurer.
Deputy Mayor Sherrill, this refers back to Councillor Kaufman's question. So in the 10-year CIP, there is an arena replacement. I don't see a pool, but given the resolution that was just passed a few resolutions ago that related to the Fritzick, I think that we've got sufficient information to kind of bring those forward for the next CIP.
Thank you. Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I've been in the queue so long, I think I may have forgotten my question. So I'll back out if it comes back to mind.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adair, I think the concern I have for me with this is if we close Civic and we extend the hours at other ICE facilities, the net savings will be a lot less because we're going to have to add manpower for possibly early morning and late at night. Is that correct?
Yes, there would be increased costs for that.
So the net savings would not be what we see here, likely.
That, from my understanding, they did not take into the additional manpower that would be needed at the other facilities for extending or starting early.
Great, thank you. Do you have any other questions? Any debate? I will just say I will not support this at this time. I don't believe it's a prudent step for us to make, especially with COVID, where you have to spread out the ice times, you have to have more cleaning. all it would do is extend the time at the other arenas. It would create more issues and more staffing, and I don't think the saving would be what we see here. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I won't be supporting this. It feels like my whole life is flashing before me today. Used to spend the summer at the civic pool and the wintertime at this ice rink. But given the fact that we just put in the new machinery to create the ice, it still has 10 years. And you know, a hockey player doesn't care what the rest of the or a skater doesn't care what the rest of the rink looks like, as long as you got some ice and it feels pretty good. So I think we've still got a few years left in this this facility, so I won't be supporting.
No more debate. I ask for a vote by, Acting Mayor Hagan.
Sorry, I was just going to echo the comments of my colleagues. This definitely will not be supporting this, as it's as was indicated earlier, we're already down. If we need to social distance, we need to make differences in order to get players back on the ice. It's an arena that we definitely need, and it's available for another 10 years till we find something else that's available in our community.
Call the question by roll call, please.
Councillor Parker.
Opposed.
Acting Mayor Hagan.
Opposed.
Deputy Mayor Miyashiro.
Opposed.
Mayor Spearman.
Opposed.
Councillor Campbell.
Opposed.
Councillor Carlson.
Opposed.
Councillor Kaufman.
Opposed?
Councillor Croson.
Opposed.
Councillor Morrow.
Opposed.
Lost 9-0.
On A134, Westminster Pool closure. I will move that Finance Committee recommend adoption of A134 to City Council. Do I have a second? I have no second. This will not be considered. Moving on, A135, which is attached to A136, Information Services and Materials Reduction Options for the Helen Schuler Nature Center. Option A135. Sorry, do I have a motion for either A135 or A136 at this time?
I will make the motion as long as nobody seconds it.
Which one?
No, I will not make the motion, sorry.
We're getting smarter.
It's getting late, eh, Acting Mayor? There are no motions for A135 or 136. Those two will not be considered. Next up is A137, Helen Schuler Nature Center, Conservation Projects Reduction. I will move that Finance Committee refer A137 as accepted to City Council. Do I have a second?
Yes, Joe.
Thank you, Councillor Morrow. Questions? There are no questions. Debate? I see no debate. Oh, Councillor Croson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think all of my colleagues are well aware of the pride that we take in our river valley and in our natural areas. And this initiative is certainly part of making sure those places are clean, that they are preserved, and that they are maintained. And so for those reasons and many more reasons, I cannot support this initiative.
I will call the question by roll, please.
Acting Mayor Hagan.
Opposed.
Deputy Mayor Miyashiro.
Opposed?
Mayor Spearman,
Opposed?
Councillor Campbell,
Opposed.
Councillor Carlson,
Opposed?
Councillor Kaufman,
Opposed?
Councillor Croson,
Opposed.
Councillor Morrow,
Favor.
Councillor Parker.
Opposed.
That's lost 8-1.
A138, Lethbridge Transit Relief Coverage. There are a series of positions that are no longer required and currently vacant, which is a good opportunity to eliminate from the budget. I will move that A138 be referred to City Council for acceptance.
I will second
I'll
that.
second it. Oh,
Second, Councillor Carlson.
Doesn't, yep, either way.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Croson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I have questions, just I need more information on this because it looks like it's an easy cut and yet it's in our high impact. So if we could have a little more conversation about the impact that this would have and why it's in the high impact. Mr. Adair, I assume this is yours.
Yes. This is in the high impact. These positions currently are vacant as it sits today. However, the money that is associated with these positions helps to offset the overtime that is occurring in transit as we're experiencing high overtime right now.
Can I clarify then? So vacant positions, we've been just carrying the money to pay for overtime. We didn't have budgeted overtime for transit. Is that what you're saying?
We do have budgeted overtime, and in 2020, it's $244,960, and I'm just trying to get the actuals that we are currently paying.
So what you are suggesting is rather than cutting this, do you need this to actually amplify your OT to be realistic about what you're actually doing?
That's exactly what we're asking for.
Right, we're just waiting for the numbers, is that what you said?
Deputy Mayor, while we're waiting, I have a question on that.
Go ahead, Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Croson, for highlighting that, because I didn't see this as a necessary transfer. Now that's how I'm reading it. Question on the OT, is that endemic, or is it a factor of COVID at the moment?
I would say it's a combination of both. The overtime has been increasing over the last number of years, and we have seen a significant increase due to COVID and the 14 days off when you're experiencing COVID-like symptoms.
Okay, because yeah, and I'm thinking it's the most grant that we've been chatting about for transit. Is that not covering some of these extra costs?
City
Yes.
Treasurer, did you have your?
If I may, Deputy Mayor Cheryl, so this was part of the 5%, 10% exercise. It would be my recommendation that this not be reduced, just given if you look back at previous unaudited statements for many years, there's been some pressures related to wages, and I think, and again, I think maybe if this might be an item depending on the level of detail that we might need to go in camera, but there's just been some pressures historically, and they've been working through attendance management and that sort of thing, but I think this would just put additional burden on the department from a financial perspective.
Thank you. Councillor Carlson, are you still up?
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate that commentary from the city treasurer. Thank you, Haley. The question that I have in my hand or in my mind is there anything we need to do on this if it turns out that this is necessary to covering the costs right now? Is there anything we need to do? Because right now this is budgeted, and it looks like it's budgeted for 1.5 positions, but it's not being used for that. Do we need to amend anything, or just leaving it in the budget takes care of that? I'm just trying to think of transparency and openness.
I'll ask the treasurer to correct me here shortly, but I would recommend we leave it as is. There are a number of things being done to address the pressures that the treasurer and Mr. Adair have spoken to, both under the KPMG, responding to the KPMG recommendations, as well as our workforce adjustment program. So until those two initiatives are complete, I think it could stay as is.
Okay, thank you.
I would move to withdraw this. Given the information we just received, I'd like to withdraw my motion for A138. Is there any opposition from Finance Committee for that?
I'll second that if needed.
Second would be good, thank you.
If you don't have opposition, you don't need a vote.
Oh, okay, yeah. If there's no opposition. Yeah, is there any opposition? There is none, so.
Blaine.
Okay, we'll have a vote by roll call, please.
Just for clarification, are we voting on a rescinding motion? Or are we just
Withdrawing
gonna,
this, I'm withdrawing this motion.
this can't defeat the motion?
Withdraws it, then an alternate motion can be put on the floor.
Okay, all right, okay, thanks.
Withdraw the motion, then, yep, go ahead, Councillor.
Could I not be the sponsor if, rather than have it withdrawn, or does it have to go a whole different process?
If I may, just because we're in finance and the rules are a little bit looser, perhaps the mayor's suggestion of just letting the vote go as the vote goes, given the new information, will satisfy.
No, we're already voting on a motion to withdraw, so we need to go through with this process.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, on the motion to withdraw, Councillor Deputy Mayor Miyashiro, sorry.
In favor.
Mayor Spearman.
In favor.
Councillor Campbell.
In favor.
Councillor Carlson.
In favor.
Councillor Kaufman.
In favor?
Councillor Croson.
In favor.
Councillor Morrow.
Opposed?
Councillor Parker.
In favor.
Acting Mayor Higgin.
Opposed.
Carries 7-2. We just need a majority.
Acting Mayor, did you want to put something forward before or do we move on?
It wouldn't really matter at this point.
That's no?
That would be to know.
Thank you. I'm just being clear. If there are no further motions for A138?
Do you want to go back and do the 88 and 89 and then do Goldenrod tomorrow?
I see no motion for A138. We will not consider that. We have to do, which ones again? Do we have the information we require for A88 and A89?
Greg gave you the thumbs up.
Yes, we do.
Finance Committee, if we go back to A88 and A89, which were referred from Tuesday, I believe. These were the two initiatives regarding transit. Councillor Kaufman wanted clarity on service levels on A89. Would you like to get that information first before a motion is made, or Councillor Kaufman?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This was done on Monday, so I was just wondering if he could give the answers and that might remind us who asked the question.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, we received a question about what our current service level is. And so our current service level within transit is Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 12 midnight, operating 30-minute service. However, some route changes to 1 hour after 10 p.m. Saturday from 7 a.m. to 12 midnight operate at 30 minutes of service. And Sunday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. operates at 30-minute service for half of the routes, and the other half of the routes are 1 hour service. So in addition to that, you were asking about some timelines. In March of 2020, of course, we changed to no longer collecting fees. April 8th of 2020, we went to transit by reservation, and August 4th, we reverted back from transit by reservation to our conventional transit.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
I will move that A88 is put forth from Finance Committee to City Council as initiative. Do I have a seconder? Oh, wait, City Manager has something.
Yeah, sorry, I'll defer to Mr. Adair here in a second, but A88 has already been directed by council to administration to move forward with when we came forward under the KPMG recommendations. So that's already in motion. So our recommendation would be there's no need for council to deal with that at this time. And our target, correct me if I'm wrong, is 1 July to have that implemented?
Correct.
And I don't know if you want to, Mr. Dare, explain the, before council considers A89 too, we should provide some context around whether it makes sense to move that forward now.
And I think one of the questions that council had earlier, could we come back with a hybrid motion? And when I talked back on Monday, A88 has been approved, and can we move forward with A89 as an initiative? Well, we can't have both of those initiatives going at the same time. But what we have talked about in the past was we had some most funding that would secure the conventional transit till the end of March. And so we could do that. We could, going forward, though, look at a service reduction from April until July, until such time that Transit on Demand was implemented. If we chose to, if council chose to move forward with that change in service, there would be a cost savings of $89,000 a month, and we anticipate that would be over 3 months, so we'd have a $266,000 potential savings.
Let me just hold that for a second, Mr. Adair. Councillor Kaufman, you have a question?
Sorry, I was just getting in the queue. I like where Mr. Adair is going here.
I have a procedural question, just for Finance Committee. A88 has a motion on the floor that was postponed. I was the mover, Mayor Spearman was the second, and it was to be postponed later in our Finance Committee meeting. At this time, I would like to withdraw that motion. So I have a motion to withdraw A88.
And Deputy Mayor, if I may.
Does that have any bearing on the withdrawal of this motion?
It does, just because for clarity, A88 is already in progress. Voting on it won't make any difference.
Right.
Thank you.
So I'm just withdrawing my motion because it was to
yeah, I'm trying to support you.
Right, thank you.
I'll second the withdrawal.
The treasurer, sorry to interrupt, the treasurer's got a comment, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Councilor or Deputy Mayor Miyashiro, I think it would just be helpful for clarity's sake, or maybe I'm complicating things, just that the Transit on Demand has been approved, but the approval to reduce the budget has not occurred yet. So it would be helpful to debate this initiative from a budget perspective.
Okay, I get that, but we were just told it was already in progress, which is why I put my motion to withdraw it.
That's my not being an accountant.
So procedurally, now what?
What do you want to do?
Well, then I want to move forward with it if she wants us to accept this.
If it could be tabled and put to a vote right away, that would be probably the quickest way to deal with it.
And
Yeah, I
Deputy
can-
Mayor,
Is there any opposition to proceed and not go through with the withdrawal?
Deputy Mayor,
Go ahead.
since this affects 2022 taxation and not 2021 taxation, we're talking about A88. I don't see any impact on taxation for 2021. Can the treasurer confirm that? Because if that's the case, we can just withdraw this and deal with a change in taxation at any time between now and probably December of 2021, correct?
You know, I think they wanted us to do this so they know what they're doing
Okay.
Go ahead.
If I may, if I give an update, including approval, assuming this initiative was approved, that would be an average per year of 0%. And so I guess it just depends what council wishes to approve and which years.
Does that help, Councillor Kaufman?
Oh, sure. Yeah, dangle that in front of me. Sure. Yeah, let's do it now.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Carlson?
thank you. I'm not sure where we are in the process. I have questions regarding both initiatives, so I can jump out and wait,
Yeah.
or I can ask.
Yeah, I hear you. We're gonna keep A88 on the table, on the floor. And we are not gonna withdraw it as per recommendation from the city treasurer. And so that's where we're at right now.
Deputy Mayor, it's Joe, point of order, so I'm gonna just throw in my 2 bits worth. Since we have a motion by you and seconded by the mayor to withdraw, the simplest thing to do would be, rather than debating it and going all around in circles, we vote to withdraw and we defeat this motion. And then somebody else can bring it back on.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's the way I see it.
That's fair, Councillor Morrow. I'm with you.
So let's just vote and defeat the withdrawal motion, get that off the table.
Councillor Morrow, procedurally that is correct. However, because there was questions of clarification asked and more information came, it's up to the chair whether he would like to proceed with that withdrawal because of the new information and the questions that came up.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. It would be just, Councillor Morrow, I think it'd be easier for us just to not withdraw this motion and go through with the discussion about A88. Then at that point, if Finance Committee chooses to defeat A88, that's entirely up to Finance Committee. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of a procedural issue, but that's okay. So I'm going to not do our withdrawal. I'm going to go back to the original motion on the floor that was moved by myself, seconded by Mayor Spearman. And
I'm sorry, you can't do that. Sorry, Deputy Mayor. My understanding is that we tried this before, and correct me, City Clerk, you can't do that. The motion now belongs to Finance Committee. There's been a motion to withdraw, and it's been seconded. So we need to deal with that.
You are
Am
correct.
I right?
You are correct.
So
Procedurally, it does belong to Finance Committee. However,
Okay,
because
so
there was
let's
questions of clarification that came up and more information, the chair can rule, because otherwise if you withdraw it, then you're just going to go back to the main motion anyway, probably. But
Well, and we're gonna go back
procedurally,
to
you
the
are
main-
correct. Yes, Councillor Morrow.
And I think what I hear is we're going to go back to the main motion because our city treasurer told us that even though this project is already in motion. She needs it in here, so she's got the numbers. So that's why I was thinking, let's defeat the withdrawal. Same people can move it again, or two different people.
She didn't actually say she
Thank you.
needs it for the numbers, but according to the city clerk, we're okay to do it this way, Councillor Morrow. You're not incorrect, but because of what the city clerk has said, then we're just going to proceed the way we are. So we're in
So
questions.
point of order, he's correct, but we're not going to go with what he was correct about. I just need to understand that, sorry.
The chair can rule however he wants to rule, and if you would like to challenge the chair, you may do so.
Well, I would like to challenge the chair as well then. That I think it should just be defeated.
Is there a seconder?
Yes, Joe.
Okay,
So the challenge is that we go through with the withdrawal motion.
we uphold the ruling of the chair. So we're going to vote on upholding the ruling of the chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Okay.
Is everyone clear on what we're voting on? The ruling of the chair was to not do the withdrawal motion, but go back to the original motion to accept A88.
Okay, on the vote. Mayor Spearman,
Favor of the ruling of the chair.
Councillor Campbell,
In favor.
Councillor Carlson,
In favor.
Councillor Kaufman,
Opposed.
Councillor Croson,
In favor.
Councillor Morrow,
Opposed?
Councillor Parker,
Opposed.
Acting Mayor Hagan,
Opposed.
Deputy Mayor Miyashiro.
Favor.
Carried 5-4.
Going back to the original motion, we are in questions. Acting Mayor, are you on the queue for questions?
Nope, that was from before.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Spearman. Were you up? Sorry, Councillor Carlson?
Oh, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just, because these are really either or options, either 88 or 89, correct? I mean, there could be the hybrid that somebody could put forward outside of these. I think that's what I talked about. So can somebody walk me through which of these options is going to have the biggest impact on the users of the system? Because I know there's a lot of discussion in the public right now. People are calling me, emailing me, messaging me, saying, I have to get to work in the morning, and if you're changing my my time by an hour, and I'm like, no, that's not what's happening. The peak times are staying the same. It's minor changes. That's in 89. And so I'm trying to wrap my head around is which is going to have the biggest impact on the users of the system.
Sure. Transit on demand is the transit of the future. It provides the best service to the greatest number of people at the most cost-effective method. So you will see better service, and in fact, in some cases, you will see people getting from point A to point B quicker through transit on demand than you are even with a conventional system. So transit on demand is where we want to go. The reduction in service level would mean an individual, it could take them up to 30 minutes longer to get from point A to point B. So that would be a reduction in service.
Okay, thank you. And my only experience with transit on demand has been during COVID, where we didn't have university, college, high school, et cetera, or even a lot of the traditional users using transit. Can someone explain to me, because we kept saying, oh, we're doing transit on demand, you dial a bus type thing, you phone in. And so if I was sitting there waiting at a stop, I wasn't allowed on if I hadn't phoned in. So I'm just can someone explain to me how transit on demand that we're going to in the future is different than our COVID experience?
Yeah, so transit on demand, there's kind of two pieces to transit on demand, and one of them is called City Link. And the City Link is the high frequency routes that we have throughout our city. So that will be, so those will be running nonstop, well, every 30 minutes, and individuals will be able to just follow that schedule and catch the bus accordingly. The feeder routes that feed into City Link are where the transit on demand and the app that you would use on your mobile device, you would actually be able to say, okay, I need a bus to pick me up at, let's just say, in the canyons. And then the canyons, so they would give you a time that would work, and then you would take that into one of the City Link. So you'd take that into City Link, and then you'd continue on your journey. And that system, transit on demand, could actually save you up to 30 minutes.
Okay, so thank you. But is it different? Because it wasn't just I could call from anywhere and catch a ride. There were still certain stops and certain places I had to be. That will still be it. Oh.
Yeah, I think we're all going to get that here in the
Yeah.
next few minutes.
Emergency alert. Are there still stops in neighborhoods? I'm putting my mind in the mind of somebody who's either just moved to town or is visiting, staying at a hotel, and they're used to regular transit where you just say, where's the transit stop? Oh, there it is. I will go and sit and wait.
Yes, there was certainly in the residential areas, there will be designated transit stops. And then on the City Link, there will be transit hubs. So you'll see a bigger area, you know, perhaps a more substantial area to help move the people.
Okay, so thank you. I just wanted to get some clarity on that before I raise my hand. Thank you.
Councillor Kaufman.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Adair. So the savings that are projected in 2022, the 353, are not a reduction of service. It's the full implementation of transit on demand.
Yeah, it's not a service reduction. Those savings are staffing reductions, hours of operation that are required, busing reductions, that sort of stuff.
Okay, thank you. And clarification for those who may be listening on this particular issue. When you say City Link will have a hub, there are stops along the way as well, though, correct?
That's correct.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you. Transit on demand, is there an impact in staff? Will there be? Or is that something we should not be talking about?
And I think it might be best to wait. Again, the transit on demand model for the city is being developed now. So I think that's something that we would probably look to update council on periodically before it goes live 1 July.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? I see no further questions. Debate? Anyone for debate? I see none. Are there any council members, finance committee members opposed to A88? I see none. A88 is passed unanimously. Then for clarity, A88 being passed negates the need for A89, is that correct? Or not?
We should discuss 89 just so council is aware of what options might exist.
Thank you. I will move that Finance Committee recommend A89 to City Council. Do I have a second?
Carlson.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. Questions?
Carlson has questions.
Councillor Carlson?
Getting back to the thought of a hybrid model, we now know that we're going to be in COVID for a while. We're not sure how the funding is coming in through the MOST or through other programs. Has city manager, have you or your staff looked into a recommendation of, are there possibilities or thoughts about implementing pieces of this in the interim?
By pieces, Councillor Carlson, do you mean pieces of transit on demand?
No, pieces of the of A89. The sorry, not.
Oh,
I
understood.
closed-
Understood.
Yep.
Yeah. So the last update we gave to council, then I'll defer to Mr. Adair, is that we, as a result of some flexibility in most funding, which was originally a certain amount targeted to transit, we could go beyond that. We'd inform council that we could continue with current service levels until the end of March, and we would reassess and get back to council. But I'll defer to Mr. Adair to talk to where A89 would come in. And A89 was essentially the reduced service levels we brought forward in response to the ridership sort of hovering around 30%.
Exactly. So I'd like some clarity on that, because one of the issues I have, if we wait until the funding runs out and then say, well, now we're going to implement it. And I think what I'm not sure who was in front of us. I think it was Mr. Galucci was in front of us. It takes 4 to 6 weeks or something to implement. And so I'm just wondering about the timing, but if there's anything further you can fill in.
Yes, you are correct. It does take approximately a month to 6 weeks to implement a change like this. So with the most funding, that takes us out to the end of March. We certainly, council, if they chose, could implement this initiative for April until the transit on demand comes live, which we believe it will occur in July. And if council chose to do that, there would be a potential savings of approximately $89,000 for every month.
$89,000 per month.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And maybe just to help me out. Oh, sorry, I hit my mute button. Just to help me out, ridership. One of the concerns I have is we have the most funding. Agreed. It's in place to as a stopgap, but it still hurts my heart to be running around empty buses. Are we running around empty buses just because we've got the money to do so?
Our ridership has not increased since we went back to conventional transit in, I guess, September, and we're still around that 30 to 35% ridership. And we're not foreseeing that changing in any time in the near future.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Kaufman.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Mr. Dare, we've hired a new transit manager. Has she or he started yet?
No, he's coming out of the States. He's currently in quarantine, and he will be starting December 7th.
Excellent, thank you. And he comes from a transit background, is he not?
Yes, quite an extensive one.
Excellent, thank you. Would it be prudent for us to perhaps postpone this and give him an opportunity to get his feet on the ground, to look at what's happening, and then address really the only thing we're trying to address here is April to June. If we've agreed to go to transit on demand, and maybe see if we can find an alternative to reducing service before we start trying to encourage people to get on the bus?
Yeah, certainly there is a transition plan for when he starts, and that would give a little more time to get his feet up and running and things ready to go. One of the good things about Mr. Sanderson is he does have experience with transit on demand. So he won't be coming into this blind, which will be very helpful as we move forward.
Thank you. So, given what I just heard, could I, we have a motion on the floor. It's been moved and seconded already. Okay,
But
then
Councillor Kaufman, you could make a motion to refer.
Thank you. I'll step out.
Okay.
Acting Mayor Higgin?
Actually, I was going to say exactly what Councillor Kaufman had said, except for he said it much more eloquently. We do have a new transit manager starting. It would be fantastic hearing what we've heard about his vast knowledge in the transit system, that I think it would be important to get his advice on some of the changes that we have going forward. And I don't know how we can do that. And I'm hoping that Councillor Kaufman may come with a motion, and I would definitely second that if he does.
City Manager?
Yeah, in response to Councillor Higgin and Councillor Kaufman, we will just do that as part of normal business. So our intent, as we briefed council last time when the most funding could be extended, was we would come back to council in plenty of time for them to make a decision if they need to before the end of March regarding service levels. So we'll just continue with that plan, and that'll certainly give the new transit manager lots of time to, as Mr. Adair said, get his feet on the ground and be part of that advice to council.
Would it also not be detrimental to a new person coming in and looking at the vast amount of planning in their department and start picking it apart?
I think we're in good shape. I have no concerns over if this motion here was to die, we would do what Councillor Kaufman and Councillor Higgins said anyway, and we'd come back to council at an appropriate time with any recommendations we think council needs to hear around service levels.
Thank you. Councillor Carlson.
Oh, I withdrew my hand, sorry.
Are there any other questions? Debate. I see no debate. I would like to do the vote by roll call, please.
Councillor Campbell.
Opposed.
Councillor Carlson.
Opposed.
Councillor Kaufman.
Opposed.
Councillor Croson.
Opposed.
Councillor Morrow.
Opposed.
Councillor Parker.
Opposed.
Acting Mayor Higgin.
Opposed.
Deputy Mayor Miyashiro.
Opposed.
Mayor Spearman.
Opposed.
Lost
What
9-0.
was that? Finance Committee, I have a question now. We've come to the goldenrods. Mayor Spearman earlier this week made a comment that there are a number of these initiatives don't address our taxation desire for reduction. And can I just get another explanation, I think, from the city treasurer about how some of these initiatives affect taxation, even though they don't mention taxation?
Deputy Mayor Miyashiro, so there's two utilities that provide a transfer to the general fund as the owners of the utility. That is the water utility transfers 8% and the landfill transfers 10%. I might have those backwards. I think that's right. And so any reduction in their budget, any reduction in revenue in their budget poses a pressure on taxation because it will reduce the allocation to the general fund.
Is that clear to Finance Committee, or do people have questions going into our discussion about goldenrods? Good. Councillor Kaufman?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. It's absolutely clear, and I think we should move ahead, although maybe in the morning.
All right, any more questions or comments about this process? Councillor Carlson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Perhaps if we're going to move this to the morning, we could have a brief discussion on which council would like to debate in detail, or if there are, because there may be some that could be put in an omnibus package. I had a resolution to approve A30 through A33. But if somebody wants to pull those out and debate them, I'm fine with that. So I'm just wondering if we can just have that as a plan.
And there's 3 with options that I didn't include yesterday.
A30 to A33. A30 has 2 options. It's A30 and A49. So Councillor Carlson, we could do that first package right now. We have enough time, and then we can leave the rest for tomorrow if you want.
If everyone would be fine with doing the suite of those 4, they are the low impacts.
Certainly.
And then people
Certainly.
could.
I would prefer looking at them here this evening and starting in the morning, but that's just my own opinion.
Had enough for today. I'm open to that. I was just trying to push us ahead, but if council's feeling, or finance committee is feeling like it's been a long, hard day, and we need to stop now, I don't have a problem with that. Is there anyone that would like to, sorry, let me put it this way. I'm getting a sense that people would like to recess right now. Yes, I'm getting nods in the house, and I'm seeing flashing lights on the screen. I will recess Finance Committee until 9 o'clock in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.